Hi, how are you, Roshan?
Good, good. How are you?
Fine, thanks very much.
That looks like a nice painting in your background there.
Yeah, it's an African theme.
African. Oh, okay. And who
Mhm.
painted? Your daughter or you?
No, my mom brought it when she was in Zimbabwe for a visit a couple of years ago. She used to work there, so she went
Oh,
back for a visit and brought that
oh,
painting. Yeah.
okay, okay. hmm
And where were you guys today?
We went to Sal Cathedral in Zipakira.
Oh, okay. And what did you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, it was good. And those under the ground, the
Hmm.
crosses and in different timelines, they show, when Jesus started to take the cross and how he was nailed to the cross, and they showed that timeline. For
Hmm.
foreigners, they had the audio in English. So they gave a
Oh,
small cell phone. So if you press at specific stations, it gives you the description.
okay. I
Yeah.
haven't been to that. Well, I haven't been to I guess I did go to the new one. When I was a kid, I went to the first Salt Cathedral,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was very plain and it felt a lot like a mine.
hmm
But if I remember, this one feels a little bit more like a museum.
Oh, yes. And there's a close by archaeological museum. We didn't go there, but I think that's a different one, maybe.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
you go inside, you could see the crosses with the lights. And then to come back, they had a small train with an engine, which
Hmm.
used to come at like in different 15 minutes of duration. So
Hmm.
they would take the people there and then they leave them at the exit.
Oh, so you don't have to walk all the way back.
Yeah, yeah. And then there were two or three buses which would take you to a tour of Zipakira.
Okay.
But we
Did you?
didn't take that. We didn't take that tour. We came back.
Zipaquirá is just a plain, normal town.
Yeah, but it looks better than Bogota, like a town without traffic, less people. That looks
True.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
and the traffic was very good. I think the most of the people from Bogota are out of town. It seems.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good time to be in the city. Mm.
Yeah. How was
Mm.
your day? Are you planning something this week or staying at home?
Yeah, right now I'm out of the city. So if you had kept on going north from Zipaquirá about another 45 minutes
Uh-huh.
and go up into the mountains,
Okay.
you come to a man-made lake. It's a reservoir. And not far from that reservoir is where my parents have their house.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
out there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did someone come with you or you are there alone?
Yeah, my daughter's with me and one of my nieces.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. The daughter who was in Africa?
No, she's writing to me telling me that she's in Ethiopia right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is a different daughter.
Okay. She was in Bogota,
And she's here now, but she lives in Texas.
Texas. Okay. Great. Great.
Mm. So tell me what your sister would like to know. What do you think would be helpful?
So my sister wants to they have been given an assignment. She's an English teacher there in the school. So she's been asked with few other teachers to help the librarian and to let the librarian uh, make something, to help the students to be motivated for reading, you know. And that's what she was asking me because we told her about our school, like how students are always reading, even when they are in vehicles, they have a book to read, and that's something different, which we find, because normally in India, if you go, they are more hooked up to their mobile phones rather than a book.
Mm, hmm.
So that's what I had
Yeah.
told my sister. So she was really like encouraged to know that, and she wanted to do something in this new session. They started the new session in March, and that's how
Hmm.
it goes, March to March.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a
So
question. The school where she's teaching, does it have a library?
yes, it has.
Okay. And I don't know if you know this, but I would be interested to know how large it is and whether they've been able to invest in children's books or if it's mostly textbooks.
I think right now it would be more academic related books. It's not a Christian school. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how big it is or how many number of books they do have in their library. Right now, I don't have that information.
Okay.
But like, yeah. So right now, I think it would be around 3:28 a.m. there in India.
Mhm. So we're not going to call her and ask her.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, well, I'm thinking that two of the key things for stimulating reading are adults who love to read and who model that and who are excited to talk about books that they've read.
Hmm.
And then a variety of kinds of books because not everybody's going to get hooked by the same kind of book.
Correct. Yes. Hmm.
So those would be two important things to look at having and making available. And then in the classrooms to have as as part of what every student has, as you've maybe seen in sixth grade on their desks, they have the book that they're reading. So that
Hmm.
anytime there's a break or an interruption in class, to try to create the culture that instead of sitting and staring at the floor or being bored while the teacher takes care of whoever walked into the classroom, or if the whole class has to go and sit outside of the MPR because they're waiting for their turn to get the yearbook picture taken, they take
Hmm.
that book with them. So they're always taking this book wherever they go. And whenever there's a free moment, the expectation would be that you open your book and you keep working on reading it.
Okay.
And that helps to create a habit. Um, Also to have kids do book talks. So if someone has read something that they really liked, that they would have a minute or two to say what they thought was exciting about the story and why they would recommend it to another student.
Okay.
That can create interest.
Hmm.
Then the fifth and sixth grade classrooms use the 30 books a year challenge,
Hmm.
where the students can pick whatever book they want, but they need to pick some from each genre. So poetry, science fiction, biography, history, informational books. They need to pick some from each genre. And I don't know that they write anything about them
Hmm.
because some people feel that it's important that the students write about what they read, and others feel it's more important just that they do it and then maybe be able to discuss it for a couple minutes with the teacher
Okay.
to
Hmm.
make sure that they're continuing what they're doing, but not to
Hmm.
make it a heavy assignment, in other words. So it can be something more free, more enjoyable.
Hmm.
Those are some ideas. Then there are contests. I've heard that contests really aren't so good for stimulating long-term interest in reading because the kids who tend to participate in the contests are the ones that like reading anyway. And the other ones don't want to do the contests.
Hmm.
Not even if you have really, really great prizes. Usually they don't want to. So You can do contests. They're fun for the kids
Mhm.
that like that. Like right now,
Okay.
Battle of the Books. That's fun for
Okay.
the kids that like to read, but the others don't really get motivated by it.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
those are some ideas. Do you have any questions that far?
she was asking me about the library passes which the students get. So how is it like made functional in the school? So every student has a library pass with them, and then you enter the name of the book. Is it how it is done?
Well, we use an online platform, a library software that's free. It's available to anybody. It's called open source, the open source kind of platform. And the
Mm-hmm.
specific name of it is KOHA, KOHA.
Koha.
And
Okay.
yeah, so this software has a cataloging system. You catalog your books
Mm-hmm.
and you put a barcode on each one. You can
Mm-hmm.
order barcodes for your library. And then for loaning them out, the system also has all the users registered. At our
Okay.
school, the way that they get registered is through the registrar's office because I guess through Facts RenWeb, each student has and each employee has a username number. And so somehow that's linked and it's pulled into COA.
Oh, okay. Is it a
And then
paid
that's
software? But is it a paid software or is it a free software?
no, it's free. The only
Oh, okay.
thing is that because it's free, you don't have anybody to support you with technical issues or setup or anything like that. So the school needs to have somebody internally who's able to do all that.
Oh,
Or
okay.
I imagine they could also contract with somebody to set it up. Mm,
Okay. Okay. So it's Koha, Koha.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's getting recorded. So I'm saying so that she gets to
Yeah.
understand our conversation. Okay. Okay. And every, like in elementary, middle school, and high school, it's a different level for reading for students, or it's just free how they come and just choose their own books which they want to read.
We do try to guide them a little bit to choose books that will be at their reading level.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that sometimes a second grader wants to take philosophical essays because the outside of the book looks nice. And the second grader wants to feel important and take that book home. So it doesn't mean we have to say no, but we just encourage them to choose something that they can actually read. Or sometimes you have a fifth grader that still wants to just borrow picture books.
Okay.
So again, it's not that we're going to say no, you can't, but like right now with fourth grade, I'm telling them when you come to the library for your library time, I want you to choose books from the intermediate and general section
Mm-hmm.
because I want to help you get ready for fifth grade. You're going to have to do a lot more reading. But if you
Okay.
want to choose an easy book to take home, that's okay for fun.
Uh, okay. So at different level, if I remember, my son has what do you call sign up sheet, like how many hours he has spent in reading. So is it different for different grades? That many hours, how they
That
spend?
I'm not sure, but probably it probably is. They call those their reading logs.
Reading logs. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that again, that can be a strategy like contests, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful with it because it can also kill the joy of reading because you have to do it to fill out the minutes on the paper.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. My son still, feels like that it's just because I have to fill up that reading log I am asked to read, but he doesn't take his own initiative to do that sometimes, you know.
Mhm.
But I've seen like there are a lot of students, even when I teach math, they would be having a book on their lap, would be looking down and reading. that itself is an, a different thing, if I tell someone in India, how it is like made possible like that, how are they so much interested in reading,
Yeah, yeah. I think that comes from a lot from the leadership of the teacher. And if the teacher's saying all the time, this is great, this is fun, look what I read, look at the book that I'm reading. Maybe you would like this one, the teacher studying the students and seeing what they like and trying to match them with books and
Mm-hmm.
creating a culture in the classroom so that they want to go to the book all the time.
Okay. Now, I don't know in my sister's school what are the different genres of books they have, but like in ECA, what are the different genres of books we have, like being a Christian school?
I would say we have just about everything
Mm-hmm.
because we have the sciences, so social science, natural science. We
Mm-hmm.
have biography and history,
Mm-hmm.
and those are more informational literature. We have what's called traditional literature, mythology, and
Mm-hmm.
folk tales. We
Mm-hmm.
have fiction, general fiction.
Okay.
What else? Well, within fiction, you have mystery, you have fantasy, you have
Mm-hmm.
historical fiction.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So, like, do you like what do you call filter some books or thinking like these might be not a good book for our kids to read? Do you do that?
Yeah, we do that. We don't ban books just for telling stories about things that are wrong,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
because that's part of what the Bible does. The Bible tells stories about things that are wrong. But we look at how does the author handle that,
Mm-hmm.
when kind of what's the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of telling the story and what is held up as being good in the end.
Oh, okay. So as a
And
librarian, how do you like get that information from each book? Do you read it or
I
you
have,
just
I
go
have to
through
pay a
the
lot of, yeah, I have to pay a lot of attention to what I buy to put on the shelves, or when I can, to look at what's been on the shelves for years and see if it needs to stay there or not.
mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then in high school, um, even some in middle school, but in high school, some of the classics may not necessarily have any redemptive quality to them, but
Mm-hmm.
still, it's valuable because it allows you to interact with the way the people around you and maybe the students themselves feel and think about things.
Okay. And is there a specific budget which is updated every year for the library?
hmm We do have a budget, and right now, for example, since the school is having a hard time financially, we're pretty much not on a complete freeze, but not spending unless it's really necessary or a specific student comes and asks for a specific book.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have a budget assigned.
Okay. I think there was an information in the memo or somewhere about the staff also asked, is there
hmm
any book which is in your mind and which you want there to be in the library? Was that correct?
hmm That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah. So we ask for those suggestions every year. And usually, if a staff member requests a book, I'll say something like, well, would you be able to find three others that are interested in reading that book? And then I'll buy it.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
maybe if
Just
it's just one person, we might get the book and put it on the shelf and then nobody will ever read it.
nobody will read it. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm. And academic related, subject related books are like issued by the publisher, or do you go and purchase it?
For example, say a biology textbook.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I only do the purchasing. So Sarah Jane, as academic director with the principals, will make the decision about what book, or more than what book, also when it needs to be renewed. So we might
Okay.
have a biology book, but then maybe after 5 years or 8 years, it's time to get rid of that one and get a new one. So they make the decision and then they'll say, please contact the company, get a quote, and I do that part.
Okay. Okay. Now, I'm not sure what kind of questions would my sister have in mind, but I think I just tried to ask like the general questions related to the library. So when she
Mm,
hears the conversation and if she has something else to ask, I would just write it in the WhatsApp, then you can just reply me. That would be fine, right?
okay. Yeah, and also if you want to, I can add that from pre-kinder, which is 4 years old, up through
Mm-hmm.
fourth grade, which is about 9 years old. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of the weekly schedule that they come to the library once a week and at that time listen to someone reading out loud and also be
Oh,
able
okay.
to select books to take home.
And are you the one doing that most often, like reading to the pre-kinder
Most
class?
often, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, okay. And
Yeah.
in
So
the like years, have you seen that our library catalog has been increasing?
the number of books that we have,
Yeah.
I don't know that we have increased because I've been working hard at throwing books away too. Uh,
Okay.
getting getting rid of some books that are 40 years old and something that I've learned that a librarian should do is be reviewing the collection so
Mm,
that anything that looks really bad or that's really outdated doesn't
mm.
stay
Oh,
because it
okay.
would detract from the what's the word, not like the reputation of a
Uh-huh.
library. Students might feel like, well, why should I go in there? Everything's old and I'd rather just look on my phone.
Oh, okay.
So
And
some
what is,
things we do hold on to because they're historical, because maybe they're so specific to what our school is interested in or so specific to our context that we want to hold on to it. But
mhm.
other things, technology, travel books, things like that are not really useful at all. So it's better not to keep it on the shelves. So I buy books, but I also get rid of books.
Oh, okay. And what's the return policy for the students? Like, what is the duration you give the students to return a
Hmm.
specific book in different levels?
Right. What we do is we assign a certain limit that they can borrow. And so say the limit is 5 books and the student comes, gets 5 books and goes away and then comes the next week and they've
Mm-hmm.
only returned 1 book because
Mm-hmm.
they're still reading the other 4 or they forgot to bring them back. So
Mm-hmm.
then they can only take one because their total allowed is 5. But if they had brought
Oh,
them all back, then they would be able to right away, 1 week later, take 5 more.
oh,
And
okay.
because we're a
Okay.
small school, we don't have a very strict return time. So sometimes kids will keep their books for a month or more if nobody asks for that book. If someone else asks for it, then we ask to get it back. But if no one else
Okay.
asks for it, they can keep reading it.
So that limit of 5 books is for all grade levels?
Well, I just pulled that as an example. So
Okay.
as they get older, they have more books allowed. When they're younger, because it's harder for them to keep track of the books, we only
Uh-huh.
let them have 3.
Okay. Okay. And the system, the POHA system records all this, right? Which student has
That's
taken
correct.
which book, how many
Three,
books, the date, everything, right?
right. It all has to be programmed. so that,
Okay.
have the parameters that the school wants it to have.
Hmm. Do you have any, like, I'm still asking this, do you have any specific suggestion for kids to develop more interest in reading?
Um, I think it's just to be immersed in a culture where that's happening and to
Hmm.
have available to them things that are interesting.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you think like there are many uh, PDFs and ebooks, Kindle, those are also there. Is that a different thing rather than reading a hard copy of a book? Or is that also good for reading?
Well, I would say especially on a Kindle or a tablet maybe, but not connected to the internet, because if you are, then you're going to get interrupted a lot.
Okay, okay.
And neurologically, you'll be affected because you won't develop an attention span like you would otherwise. You won't
Mm-hmm,
be able to sustain the attention to really get to where you enjoy a story because you're
mm-hmm.
used to only small, short segments.
Okay,
So the
okay.
advantage of having a physical book is that your brain and your focus are more sustained, which can
Mm-hmm.
help you in the future when you're going to study, to be able to spend longer periods of time concentrating, or even to become more articulate because you can develop an idea
Mm-hmm.
with
Okay.
sustained thought. So yeah, I would say those are the advantages of either a physical book or an electronic device that's not connected to the internet.
Uh, if I remember when I was in my school, I think in the library there used to be a librarian and an assistant librarian. Do you think in a library more people are needed so that an effective like result can be produced from the library, or like one or two people are just enough for doing that?
I would say it's good to have at least two because there are many different tasks. And one of the tasks that takes a lot of time is
Mm-hmm.
shelving books when they come back.
Okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be running a program where you read out loud to kids, where you're loaning books, getting books back, that takes up a lot of time. But then the physical processing of books too, when they arrive, putting them into the catalog, putting on the stickers that they need for the classification system, the barcode, maybe covering them to protect them so that they'll have a longer shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, unless it's a very small school and a small library, it's good to have two people. And we use a lot more people at ours because since I'm also doing admissions, I'm not at the library all the time. That's
Okay,
why our volunteers are really important, because there's a
okay.
mom that comes in every day, and what she does is be at the circulation desk to help with checking in, checking out, and
Mm-hmm.
shelving. And then Debbie
Okay.
does most of the cataloging and the physical processing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more in the reading to kids and keeping up with what books we need to buy, what books we need to get rid of, and that kind of thing.
Okay. I think I have asked a lot of questions, and I think when my sister looks at this conversation, she would be like happy to get all this information.
Well, I think she's going to be impressed with your questions because even though it's her project, it sounds like you've thought a lot about it too, to be able to
Yeah,
ask those questions.
yeah. She had asked me about like 2 weeks back, and she continued to remind me, and I think we just didn't make up time to do that. But thank you for your time. Thank you for all this
Sure,
information. It was really a big help. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Say hi to Hepzibah and Yvonne for me.
Sure, sure. I would. I would. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Miss Blair. Thank you.
we'll see you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.